Show me your moves.
And get in, losers. We got a show for you. Welcome to episode 40 of Geek Life Live, your source for all the nerdy news you need to know. I am your host, the Dodd, the streamer this podcast needs, but certainly not the one it deserves. And joining me today is a man whose headband says Supreme, but his beard screams, "Damn you, Noob Master 69, Jake the Great, a.k.a. Gonzo Gone Live. Welcome back, man. Meet any Greek gods on vacation?
Oh, no, but I saw a swan, and I was like, I'm watching you, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta keep your eye on the swans.
Yeah. That's how Zeus comes in and just does a little, get you. He'll get you,
Yeah.
He will.
And also here to co-host his favorite streamcast on the Citadel, or so his ads say, Comrade Kev joins the fray. How are you doing tonight, Kev?
Doing fantastic, Dotson. Just mostly here, trying to survive the pre-post mid-back pandemic too.
Yeah, my next question is how are you guys surviving the re-apocalypse, as I'm calling it? We did affectionately name it Lockdown Number 2 Electric Boogaloo last time.
Yeah.
But any new shows to come to mind with the impending doom in their future?
We've been watching Manifest. Heard many things about it. Yeah, so
nice.
Finally bought into the hype, and it is as you would expect with the NBC show. They just keep reeling you in, episode after episode. You gotta, yeah. It's funny because these shows, obviously, when they air, they're not bingeable, but they're bingeable once they become, on Netflix because you can just roll through them shits.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Jake?
Well, I've been watching a few things. I mean, I've been playing a lot of, oh man, now I'm drawing a blank of it. Fucking Yakuza, Like a Dragon.
Oh,
really?
I love that.
Okay.
Yeah. That shit's nice.
It fucking slaps. It's a good game. Yeah, I've never played any of the Yakuza games. So and this is the first one. I read that I didn't have to have played any of the other ones to play this one, and so I was like, all right, fuck it.
Both you and Zach, whenever you guys are given the opportunity to double dip in the weeb shit, you guys take that shit 100%.
Well, dude, I bought Resident Evil 5, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's not scary. It's a lot of fun." And dude, it's still scary. And I don't like scary games. I don't like. I get high, and I don't like games that are just like, I'm gonna fuck up your high real quick, And so, but I'm gonna get back into it. I gotta finish it off. It is a pretty cool game. Resident Evil 5 is, but then Yakuza's. It's very bright. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff to do in it, and so that. And I've been watching Ted Lasso. Yeah, I know it's a weird kind of Apple Plus show with Jason Sudeikis. Apple Plus.
Apple Plus? Jeez, you have all of them. You're like Thanos over here with like the Infinity Gauntlet of streaming service. You got Apple Plus?
I basically have cable now.
At the end of the day, At the end of the day, it adds up.
Kev's over here looking fancy with his wine glass, and you're over here flashing off Apple Plus, though. I mean, I feel inadequate, guys.
Capitalism, am I right, boys?
Capitalism. Yes.
Cheers.
Do you see my collection of capitalism items behind me? They're great.
That rich tastes nice.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, got a little bit of existential dread to start off the show.
Yeah. That's how you do it, man. It's only up a hill from there.
Right.
Which, by the way, is kind of a terrible analogy because uphill is hard. Maybe that's not the analogy I'm thinking of. Then maybe I said it wrong.
It's all downhill from there because that's easier, but it's also
going down. But that means like doom is coming.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Someone's obviously never ridden a bicycle
always going downhill. You're gonna be unique. Is everybody traumatized by that same experience? Do we all live that experience in the 90s where we just went down a hill?
Oh, I fucked myself up going down a hill on a razor scooter. I still have the scar.
Oh yeah, it was either razor scooter or a bike. Skateboard.
Same. Yep, that works too.
It was cooler than all of us.
Clearly, I was pretty cool.
I was rollerblading. We lost.
Oh, I did inlining too. Oh man,
it's coming back though, man. It's coming back. Damn it!
I know they got like the quad skates and everything, and the roller derby girls. I mean,
oh yeah, there's a whole skating ring right in front of my apartment right now. They just makeshift one. Everybody's
Oh,
out
yeah?
there doing it. Yeah.
Nice.
That's a new thing. That's a new thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. If you're new to the show, we're about a 2.5-hour matchup of all the pop culture news you know and love. We talk about your favorite TV, movies, video games, and the biology of giant kaiju starfish. If you like what you see here on the show tonight, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all of our social medias. There's a link tree in our bio. And for even more content, you can follow any of us on our personal socials. You can find me at Rusebane, WRUSE_BANE on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. Jake, where can they find you?
You can find me at Gonzo Gone Live on both the Twitch and the Twitterverse, and I'll eventually start streaming again one day. I promise.
Sure. Yeah. It'll happen.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. And Kev, what about you?
Yeah, totally awesome. And same, kiddos. I will be streaming soon. My battle station is ready, as well as my body.
I want to see it happen. Look, I'm here for it. I'm here for both of you guys to get into the game and get hooked like yeah, what am I kidding? You guys are not gonna get hooked like I am, because like Jake's gonna be like, I'm gonna give him my best shot until I get tired.
Me and Jake are kites with no one holding the string at the end.
I mean, I could blame it on undiagnosed adult ADHD. That like as soon as I set up, I get a hobby. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get a PC, and then I build it, and then it's like, all right, that's cool. All right, I'm gonna go watch this now.
Yeah. I know everything about the hobby. Anyone seen that TikTok? Or just me? Okay.
No, I'm definitely on that side of TikTok too. So.
Okay. Yep, we're all there now. All right, we've got a great show planned for you guys today. Jake, why don't you hit us with that rundown?
Oh, it'd be my pleasure. You got a rundown for your right to rundown. It's time for the rundown. This week, we're kicking things off with the sweet, nerdy news that you need to know, like South Park getting bigger, longer, and uncut. And Jesus, I just got that fucking title. Oh man, that's been since like '98, and I kind of just got that. That's a euphemism. Anyway. Anyway, and then we've also got Pokemon fans unite, the trash unite, but more on that later. Then we got hot takes coming in hot. We've got an all new Jake's takes on Rick and Morty. That's why I'm wearing this fancy lab coat tonight, because I'm a fucking hype headband, chubby bearded Rick. I turn myself into a hype beast, Morty. And next, we're gonna dive deep into this week's deep dive on what makes a good bad guy. Duh. And finally, as always, we're closing out the show with our top 10 villains that were kind of right. But as you know, you can't have any pudding if you don't eat your meats. Kevin, what's going on in this week's headlines?
Cue music.
Tonight at 11.
Gruesome! Siege on test of the emergency meteor warning system.
In other news,
This amazing intro. Damn.
It's good shit. It's good shit, right? We stepped up the game here. Yeah.
There it is. Okay. So as I was saying, or I rudely interrupted the intro, Robin becomes a bisexual icon in the new Batman comic. There's a new LGBTQ superhero on the block, but DC comic readers already know him well. The latest issue of Batman Urban Legends, a monthly anthology series, revealed that the Cape Crusader, not to be confused with the Doodler, his longtime sidekick Robin, specifically the Tim Drake version of him, is bisexual. Moment came at the end of part 3 of the Sum of Our Parts story from writer Megan Fitzmartin. Fans seemed quite thrilled with the news too, as Twitter and much of the internet exploded with mostly positive reception earlier this week. Great to see the LGBTQ plus representation in DC, and excited to hear your thoughts on the announcement later, Dodd.
Yeah.
Next up, South Park to get 14 movies and stay on air through 2027 as part of a reported $900 million deal. Holy shit. South Park co-creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone has signed a huge deal with Viacom CBS. They'll keep the show on air at least until 2027 and see 14 made for stream movies headed to Paramount Plus. Deadline reports that the development means that the show is likely to reach a total of 30 seasons of Comedy Central, while the first 2 of the 14 original movies are scheduled to arrive later this year on Paramount Plus. The plan is to release 2 movies to the streaming platform a year, while new seasons of the show will air first on Comedy Central. While an official figure for the deal hasn't been revealed, Bloomberg reports that it's worth over $900 million. Damn, that's some bread.
That is some bread.
Burritos at Casa Bonita.
A lot of
Yes.
burritos at Casa Bonita.
That is a lot of Casanita burritos.
Someone else adding some burritos to their pocket. Idris Elba joined Sonic 2 as Knuckles with an early sneak peek. Idris Elba is joining the cast of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as Knuckles, with the actor revealing a sneak peek at his character. Knock knock, hashtag Sonic Movie 2, hashtag Knuckles, Elba posted on Instagram. He also included an image of an extreme up close look at one of Knuckles' fist, one of his knuckles. Knuckles. The news comes as fans have been speculating as to who would be voicing Knuckles in the sequel to 2020's Sonic the Hedgehog. Knuckles began as an adversary for Sonic in 1994's Sonic the Hedgehog 3. However, he would later switch sides and fight alongside the protagonist in Sonic and Knuckles the same year as they teamed up to defeat Dr. Eggman. Idris is just crushing it lately, right, guys?
Really?
I get it because of his knuckles.
Yeah.
Oh man! On the other end of the casting spectrum, Chloe Bennett exits Powerpuff Girls TV series. The road to CW's live-action Powerpuff Girls series has been a rocky one, as it was announced back in May that the pilot was being reworked. Chloe Bennett, Dove Cameron, and Yana Perrault were all expected to return in the roles of Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, respectively, but it looks like things are changing up once again. Bennett, who is best known for playing Daisy Johnson Quake on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., has officially exited the Powerpuff project. According to Variety, it was scheduling conflicts that forced her to leave the show. It appears Cameron and Pearl are still attached to the series, which was expected to begin reshooting later this year. Variety reports that they plan to find a replacement for Bennett in the fall, but this series already seems to have some bad mojo. Jojo. You get that? Yeah.
But
great to have you back, Jack.
Yeah.
And then finally, Pokemon Unite is getting a ton of bad reviews for its microtransactions. Classic. Pokemon Unite launched on Nintendo Switch a little over 2 weeks ago, and the reception has been mixed. While the gameplay has received plenty of praise, the monetization is quick to alarm players even before release. The MOBA contains 3 different microcurrencies used to buy everything from Pokemon, cosmetics, and most controversially, upgrades for battle items. Oh, you can't do that, guys. It's these held item upgrades that kick off the pay-to-win debate. As Metacritic user reviews pile in, some players clearly aren't happy with its implementation. Despite the critics' consistency sitting at an average of 69 out of 100, the user score has plummeted to 4.1 out of 10, with most recent reviews scoring the game a 0 and describing the microtransactions as predatory. Ouch.
Yeah.
Pokemon is actually having quite the PR problem overall. The news also comes after a large push to boycott Pokemon Go for rolling back its pandemic features. It's growing steam. Prepare for trouble and make it double, I guess. But yeah, huge news week, guys. I mean, where do we even start? I guess let's take it from the top. Tim Drake, what are your feelings?
Okay, so I'm really happy about this. Okay, I am glad for Tim Drake most of all. All right, the queer community has known this for a long time. We've known Robin was gay. I mean, you've seen the shorts. Like, no one willingly goes out.
The signs were there.
The signs were obviously there, right?
Those weren't
I'm
shorts.
glad that finally caught up to him, and he's accepted that in himself. But honey, we saw it coming. Okay,
Yeah.
We knew it was there. We never knew that about Tim Drake, though. To be fair, that was Dick Grayson running around in the fantastic outfit that he did. In the beginning. But look, I'm always happy for more bisexual representation. That's always great, especially male bisexual representation. I mean, you see plenty of female bisexual representation, but rarely do you see bisexual men. Rarely do you see gay men in any kind of thing where they're still mask presenting. And I think that's always hugely important. And I don't know one bisexual man who isn't a huge fucking fan of Robin in the first place. So I really don't know who this disappoints. Well, I mean, obviously we know it disappoints, but
we do. Yeah, we've heard from them.
Yeah.
No, fuck those guys. Yeah. It's cool.
It is. I'm glad to see it happening, but that's not all that we have there. We got this huge South Park story as well. Jake, what do you feel about this?
I saw
Paramount
some
Plus.
people.
It's crazy that they're putting everything on Paramount Plus and they're splitting the baby like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's crazy to me is that it's still a Comedy Central property, but they're kind of like splitting it up with Paramount Plus. What do you think about this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's an interesting tactic to get more people onto Paramount Plus. I'm assuming they're all owned by the same mega corporation. That's why they're allowing it to happen. Comedy Central doesn't have its own like streaming service or anything besides just maybe an app that ties to your cable subscription, But it's crazy. I mean, 14 movies. I could see like how some people even in chat were like, "We're not even asking for that," and it's like, like I get it, but like at the same time, I think South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they can definitely make some interesting one-off movies. Most of them are probably going to be holiday of stuff. Like they had a lot of episodes that were they were having a lot of episodes that were basically like multi-part episodes, like 3 or 4 anyway. And so it's pretty interesting to see just how kind of like it'll be interesting to see what movies they produce and how quality those movies will be anyway. But I think it's a huge deal for them. It gave them so much money. I jokingly said that was a lot of Casa Bonita burritos, but a Casa Bonita. Anyway, they bought Casa Bonita. And so Pat Stone and Trey Parker actually bought Casa Bonita. And so that's what's fucking crazy. If you've ever been, they legit like it's terrible food. So hopefully they make it better. But yeah, no, huge news.
Lana Sketches is connecting dots for me here in chat. Comedy Central is owned by Viacom, which also owns Paramount. So they're still playing for the same team.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, mega corporation. I knew it was somebody. Like
it's one of those 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Or 5.
But no, I mean, huge news overall. But besides that, God, what the fuck is going on with Pokemon Unite?
Okay.
Is it still worth getting? I guess it's kind of the question.
One, Unite is still worth getting, okay, because it's free.
It's always going to be worth it.
The thing that they're complaining about in here, okay, if you play Unite and you play the game, it is very clearly a fully developed, a really well done game. I was surprised to see a lack of connectivity issues, which usually happen with Pokemon games. I mean, like Sword and Shield had a huge connectivity problems, right? And especially in the beginning, I mean, Pokemon is just, and Nintendo especially, is just not really known for how they handle online platforms. The game is actually really well designed. There's a few glitches in it that are known, but the community is so active that they've really got, and the developers have been so responsive that they've been really active on the game. And so when you have a game like this and you have a project that is really good, like you at some point as a gamer need to figure out if you're going to give money to the developer and support it, just like you would a band, just like you would any other art form. And the way they do that is with the battle pass, and absolutely it makes it easier to get the grind for those battle items to upgrade up, and absolutely do those battle items improve your performance 100%. Okay, but you can absolutely get that without the battle pass. And 2, the battle pass is about $20, okay, and you're paying $20 for an experience. Literally, that battle pass lasts you for like 56 days or something like that for like a progress through the season or whatever the case may be. So
what are they, a pregnant woman? How many months is that? Like I don't
know. It's something or another. But
I don't need a complicated number. I
really enjoyed. I haven't spent more than $20 on Unite, and I have gotten way more gameplay out of it than I have most games that I paid $60 for. So I can't argue that this is really a free-to-play scenario. The big problem I see with Pokemon right now and their PR problem, which this is only compounding with that, because they also had another slip up with Unite with their own Twitter. The company that owned their Twitter said something that kind of seemed a little bit not like it was supporting gay rights. And we all know that Pokemon community is queer as fuck. And they're like, what the fuck did you just say? And then the Pokemon company's like, we're sorry, still play our games, all that kind of stuff immediately. But that's already a bit of a PR problem. The Pokemon Go situation is one that is a big issue right now. And one of the reasons why you see Pikachu there standing on that COVID cell is because Pokemon Go recently rolled back their COVID precautions, changing the distance from like 80 feet to 40 feet, cutting it in half, making people have to congregate closer together, sometimes even closer than they did before the pandemic. And there's been huge negative reactions to this, including massive boycotts of Pokemon Go. and everything throughout there. So this has been a kind of a snowballing effect, and with the Unite stuff, they're kind of compounding on top of it. Pokemon has really got a PR problem that they got to worry about right now. Now, look, I mean, Pikachu is Japanese Mickey Mouse. Okay, Pokemon is one of the highest grossing entertainment properties out there because of the games and the merchandise and everything else that sells out there. They've got the money to fight the issue, and they're not going to lose everybody. I mean, like, I'm not burning any stuffies behind me. That's for damn sure. But they definitely got something to work out. What do you guys think? Do you guys have any opinions on this? I know you guys are big Pokemon fans, but
yeah, I think it's. I mean, I've never have a problem with microtransactions, especially on a free game. But I always have a problem with like the play to win stuff. You know what I mean? Like if it was just cosmetics, and I haven't played the game, so I can't. I guess I can't give too much of an opinion or a perspective. But I think just in general, like just from like best practices, I think just having a system where you essentially have to pay more money to be better or more competitive, I think that's kind of slimy. The other stuff, fine, that's normal, like, right, it's a free game and you could do that with the free game. I mean, it's been shown that's a proven successful business model. You do release a free game and then everything else that is monetized is basically cosmetic. But when it comes to the point of just affecting your ability in the game, I think that's kind of a problem, because then that's a very slippery slope.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people have similar opinions on. I mean, that is where people have the point of contention. Jake, you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, the biggest one is obviously, like you guys said, pay to win is kind of always pretty much trashy. But I don't have too much of beef with microtransactions within a free game. I think everybody kind of thinks about that, especially if they're cosmetic or I mean, whatever, even if they're kind of power ups, as long as it's one of those things where you can still earn the microcurrency at a good enough rate within the game, But the bigger one is kind of like the Pokemon Go news for me. Like, I think it's one of those where, like, I can see why a lot of people are upset about it. The pandemic isn't necessarily over. If anything, we're seeing surges in a lot of parts of the country. And so it's interesting that they're kind of like, oh yeah, we'll just roll it back. Like, it seems like another corporation that's like, hey, everybody, go back to normal. Like, don't look over here. Like,
I think so. And I think they're also hurting, because I was wondering why they would do this, and I think they're hurting because they're probably getting a lot of like data in the back end from just people moving around.
Well, here's the thing, Kev. They're not hurting. We know they're not hurting.
No, I mean, I'm saying they're not hurting. I'm just saying.
Hold on. Like, to prove this, that they're not hurting, last year was the best year Pokemon Go has ever had. They made more money than they've ever made in any year that Pokemon Go has been around, because of the stuff that was happening with the pandemic, because they made their game more accessible.
Oh, and I get that, like, but it's just like go ahead. It's never enough. It's never enough for these companies. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, it's maximized forever.
And they do get sponsorships with like Starbucks and Target and all those places where they have those stops where they're trying to get foot traffic in.
They got to get back to driving you to places, because that was going to be part of their monetization from the beginning, was driving you to places, driving you to local events, that partnered with them. And so, like, they're just trying to make more money. Like you said, Kev, it's one of those things where, like, it's never kind of enough, like, and so even though they saw record breaking, like, probably numbers,
they're not just going to throw money away. Like that.
Sorry, I just wanted to follow up. Just address Savage in chat asked. TMI Studios was the one that messed up bad on Twitter, and asked what did they say. So what they said was, someone asked them, "Can you say gay rights?" Because that's been a thing lately on Twitter, which is just to challenge queer people are just challenging companies to say, like, basic general things to prove where they are, because that's where we're at, where that becomes controversial. And TMI and here's why. Like, this is why people ask it. You would think that's like just annoying, shitty at first, but like, this is why exactly. TMI Studios responded. They said, "Can you say gay rights?" TMI Studios responds, "Why? The rights of heterosexual players are equally important." What a disappointing reply was the last thing. Go and ask any gay people if they are disappointed by being treated equally, is what TMI Studios followed up to that with. So Pokemon Company had to go back behind TMI. They deleted those tweets and kind of clean up and correct the stance. And they said at the Pokemon Company
say,
International, we believe in a just and equitable world with that every person, employee, and fan has unique skills, powers, and purpose to contribute to this common cause. As part of this, we celebrate the humanity of every individual and fully support the LGBTQIA+ community, diversity, equality, inclusion. You get the point.
Speak.
You know?
Yeah.
So Pokemon Company is having a PR problem right now, in a lot of different ways. I think that they're kind of deafness to the ongoing pandemic, because they also released, so the saga continued. This almost was a top story because it's so big. The saga continued where they made an announcement after there was this big boycott and everything. They started announcing new things that were coming in. We're going to introduce Gen 8 way ahead of Gen 7. You know, fuck Sun and Moon. We're just going to skip ahead and go to Sword and Shield shit. We're going to do Zacian in there and all that stuff. Because people were talking about boycotting it and all that stuff, and people were still boycotting it afterwards. And so Pokemon Company goes, all right, guys, we hear you. First off, they only did this change for New Zealand and US, okay? And the situation in New Zealand and US is very fucking different.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, but like
New Zealand actually like beat COVID.
Yeah, they like pay their citizens to stay home, and they believe in science, and strange things happen when all that comes together. You can topple over things like that. So New Zealand's like, oh, this is no big deal. It's fine. I'm glad we get to hang out at the barbecue, do more stuff. But over here in the US, they're like, we hear you. Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna assemble a task force over the next month to see what it is that we can do to improve the pandemic situation. It's like, bro, did you hear us? Because like we only said one thing, which was change it the fuck back.
Literally just make it back to what it was. Just revert it back. Like that's all people really want.
They do not need a task force for this, you know. And
well, you know, Dad, they just want to make shit. I actually don't know. I was thinking that shit's funny. It's literally just like, it's like I hear what you're saying, but I'm not gonna do any of that shit. I'm gonna do something else that that I'm gonna hope that you like.
Right. That's going to be my next transition, actually. I hear you. Jake, do you think it's time to just give up on the live action Powerpuff Girls?
No, I mean, it is. Yeah. No, I said no, but the answer is yes.
It absolutely is,
yeah. No, it's definitely time to give up on this fucking movie. Like, not only has it seen several, like, what was it? First off, they had to completely reshoot the pilot. The pilot came and they were like, this pilot's garbage. Like, reshoot it. And so, like, yeah, exactly. When that's how you start off, you're definitely screwed. And so I just don't get it. Like, it's nothing anybody really asked for. I was a fan of Powerpuff Girls. I was pulling for this thing. It sounded interesting. The day, like just cut the cord. It's time to hang up the cleats on the Powerpuff Girls remake.
I heard that ballerina slippers, I guess.
Ballerina slippers, whatever. Yeah, something like that.
I heard she left because she's going back to something to do with like her character she played on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something. Like there's some kind of crossover. So I'm wondering if she just
really her only fame to fame. Like I looked up, I was like, where do I know her from? And then it was like Claire Bennett, and I was like, most known for playing this role in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I was like, oh, well, I'm sure she's played other things too. And then just looked and I was like, it's pretty much Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
So maybe she had that, and then there's like seeing the forest before the trees, and reshooting a pilot, and it's like maybe I should jump ship.
yeah. I mean,
there's that too.
I don't know, she stuck with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a long time.
And she was.
That was not a show that a lot of people stuck around for a long time. So I don't know. Maybe she got better senses. Maybe she learned a lesson. Maybe that's what it was. And she was like, I'm not doing this shit again.
Maybe.
Anyways, well, that's not the only story we've got for you guys. We've got a top story. And this week, our top story is about Suicide Squad, the new movie that released out, was it last week? Yeah, last Friday. Yeah. And there's been a lot of strange things about this, mostly judging on whether or not it was a success or a failure. And despite hopes for high opening, Suicide Squad earned just $26.5 million in its first weekend, with a variety of factors leading to the total. The Suicide Squad posts the second lowest opening weekend for the entire DCEU amid the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Since theaters began reopening, the box offices have been shaking shakily moving towards recovery, with many movies also being available on streaming. And the Delta variant is causing a concern. The box office recovery hasn't been as swift as many predicted earlier this year. First off, before we get any further, have you guys seen the movie and what are your thoughts? Jake?
I have not seen. Oh, sorry.
So, Kev,
I'm just eliminating myself from that part of the conversation. I have not
there you go.
Carry
what
on.
did you think?
Oh man. No, so I mean, without giving too many spoilers, I thought it was great. I thought it was much better than the first attempt, which I know is a movie that just got slapped together and kind of threw out there. DC really, I feel like with some things are starting to get their shit together, which is nice. And this is really a great stride of one of the DC films finally getting its shit together. I thought it was a lot of fun. I watched it at home. I know Dotson, me and you talked about it a little earlier. You saw it in the theater, so I'm interested to see how it felt in theaters. But even on, oh yeah, nice. Yeah. And so even just watching it at the house, it was fun. It was good. It was entertaining. It was everything you could ask for, kind of out of a DC movie, in my opinion. So I have nothing really negative to say about it besides what I was talking about earlier, which is kind of like it feels like it dives right in. It starts so quickly that like right there in the beginning, I'm like, what the fuck, did I miss something? Did I paused it to make sure that I didn't like accidentally because
for anybody that is watching it like from the beginning, don't look away, especially during those first scenes, because you will miss things. I was watching it in the theater, and in that first scene, you'll know it when you're there. I missed like a couple of different key moments. Let's put it that way.
Key moments is a good way to put it. Yeah,
back to back, right? And I looked back, and I had to like kind of catch up. And luckily, they kind of did a recap of that moment just a little while afterwards in the intro to kind of let us know where that was, where they were going with all that. But I mean, man, I really did enjoy it. I've watched it twice now. Or I watched it 1.5 times, really. Saw it once in theaters. I really, really enjoyed it. I think that it was better the second time around. And as an improvement between the two movies, it's night and day. The choice of villain really affected that. The choice of the plot really affected that, right? Because you still had a messy mission, right? And that's what Suicide Squad is supposed to go in and take care of. The messy missions, the ones that you wouldn't want to send the Justice League in. And we have a big reason why you wouldn't want to send the Justice League against this particular threat, right? So, Kev, what do you think? Are box office numbers a good sign of success?
Yeah, so I think it's going to have to be looked at differently, where it's going to have to be a combination of box office and I guess some sort of streaming metric until things go back to whatever normal is, right? Like where movies, like you would see blockbuster movies in theater, and that was it. But I mean, even if God forbid everything goes back to normal, I don't know. I guess it depends how profitable this is, right? Like that's all it comes down to at the end of the day. So I don't know how much money like these studios are getting from just giving exclusive rights to HBO Max and so on to release their movies via stream. So I guess it all comes down to how much money they're losing at the box office as opposed to how much they're going to be making at on like a streaming platform, and then just throw in some metric of like how many views and then what the reception is. So I think it's going to be like this sort of hybrid mixed bag of what determines the success of a movie going forward.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, we just got to change our metrics on how we think success is. It's got to be like box office. If things are going to release both at home and on box office, you can't necessarily just basic success off box office, especially if it drove a lot of streams or even drove some subscriptions. Like that's money, like it made money, which is usually a sign of success. But also critical reception, I think, is a pretty, not just critical, but fans, not just critics, but have said Suicide Squad is fucking good. So like, or the Suicide Squad, right?
And I think that's what matters.
Exactly. If most of the fans are saying that it's good, and even the critics are saying it's good, then it's a good movie. Like that's at the end of the day, even if it ends up being just like a cult classic that people talk about for a lot of years and necessarily known as a box office smash. Like,
Yeah.
I hope that DC recognizes that that's valuable too. You know,
The cult classic is probably a good term for it because that's what we call movies like Donnie Darko or Rocky Horror Picture Show that didn't break box office records when they were there, but have long had a legacy afterwards. And hey, maybe Suicide Squad can live up to that.
Sure.
Do you guys think this movie isn't doing as well as, say, like King Kong versus Godzilla? That did have a bigger box office number than Suicide Squad. But studios execs have stated time and time again that streaming releases don't impact box office grosses in a significant way. But I mean, I don't know. But sorry, but I don't want to lose track of the King Kong versus Godzilla conversation because it was still a success, but things are different now. What do you guys think? Do you guys, how does this compare?
I think.
Go ahead, Jake.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, now we have the fucking Delta variant, and so like I think like a lot of people are like, at least in most bigger areas where a lot of people are getting, I think folks are gonna be a little bit more cautious. I think Hong Kong kind of like, or Hong Kong, fuck. King Kong versus Godzilla came out like in a pretty good time whenever we were kind of like the vaccine was rolling out. People were like, hey, we're lifting mask mandates. AMC theaters are opening up, and all this bullshit. And so like, I think like, we were a little bit more optimistic. I think now we're kind of in that second wave a bit, or whatever fucking number wave this is. Where people are like, I don't know, especially with it coming out at home too, with that option, like, and I know like a lot of people still went and saw it in theaters, and there's no problem with that if you're fucking, especially if you're vaccinated, like go have fun. But like, the biggest one is just like, I think there are people being a little bit more cautious, and so it's kind of a total different ball game. Plus, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that Godzilla versus King Kong wasn't rated R, right?
That's true. It was not.
That's true too. Yeah, you're right.
This is a rated R movie. For a rated R movie, it did fairly well.
I don't think enough people are giving it respect for that because rated R usually already has a smaller audience.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's a great thing. As I was trying to get to earlier, though, studio execs have stated time and time again that streaming services don't impact box office grosses in a significant way. But particular cases of movies like Black Widow and now The Suicide Squad hint that there may be some correlation. Also, it's not like the previous Suicide Squad movie was exactly loved by audiences. Do you think the first movie held this one back, or is it an outright success in your book?
No, I don't think so, because it was. I think the first movie just allowed it to be. It can only go up from here. So, unless you weren't like a stranger, I think if you were like just not even a casual fan, if you just weren't even like had no idea about Suicide Squad, or if you just maybe you saw this movie because a good friend or somebody else you went on a date with wanted to see it, and then you're like, yeah, that movie's terrible, and then you're confused as to why they're doing it again. But I think for majority of the audience that this was going towards, I think people were kind of stoked for this. I think it's just the numbers look different than King Kong, because like Jake said, the Delta variant now, and then remember when King Kong vs. Godzilla first came out, that was when vast majority of people were getting vaccinated and when things started opening back up again. So the hype was real all the way around.
Yeah. People were excited to get back out. But then also, I agree. I think that the whole, like, the first one doesn't really hold this one back, because I also think WB and DC and everybody did a really great job. This is a complete new movie. Like, basically saying, like, this isn't really a sequel. It's not really a reboot. We're kind of just letting James do his thing here. And I think, most people knew that going into it. I didn't hear anybody that was like, oh, I'm not watching it. The first one sucked. I really never heard anybody say that. And so that's just not a sentiment that I heard. So to me, it's a pretty good success. I hope the DC sees it as a success as well.
I hope so too. I hope they give James Gunn more opportunities to work with them. He's had a really good attitude about it too. He one of the things he said was like, people discover great movies when they watch them on TV, not in the box office. So like he understands a kind of, at least like he doesn't seem as caught up in the metrics as like say Scarlett Johansson does. And I think that that's really important, especially when you've had as much success as James Gunn has. Um, Overall, what are you guys giving? I know, Kev, you haven't seen it, so Jake, what's your 1 out of 10?
I mean, I'm gonna go with like I'm gonna put it at 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a 9 for me, and I think that it was like an 8.5 on that first viewing, and I kind of marinated on it a little bit, and then watched it the second time. I was like, I really enjoyed this. Like, this is a fun movie, you know.
Nice.
There was only a couple of lines that made me cringe from Harley Quinn. Only a couple.
I can see that.
The last one.
I'm the same way though.
Yeah.
It did start lower for me and then went higher. So like 8.5 is where I'm at like today after thinking about it, you know, like really like kind of letting it marinate. It's one of those that when you first watch it, it's not bad. Like you're like, oh, that was a good movie. And then after you think about it for a little while, you're like, that was a really good movie.
It was fun. Yeah, the Angel Splooge line, Savage. That was the one that it didn't land. I don't know why that line needed to exist. I didn't get it. But
I love how she basically got her own mini movie inside this movie. It's just like, I get it. Harley Quinn. Yeah, cool. She's fun.
Yeah.
Like, I would have took a whole mini movie of King Shark.
Everybody in Halloween could have a red dress with a big tear in it and combat boots.
It's like back again.
New outfit.
It's back again. Yeah.
It's back again. Yeah. Yep.
October is so beautiful.
Yep.
Pumpkin spice lattes, Harley Quinn outfits. Yeah.
Fall is here. Fall is here. Well, that'll wrap it up for this week's headlines. And now it's time for a segment that we like to call Jake's Takes. This week, we're getting a hot take from Jake on Rick and Morty Season 5. Caperdoodle, run that.
When you lack perspective from your favorite guy, the one in the fancy headband who always seems a little high. In the age of shitty opinions, where everyone seems fake, it's time for a better take. More specifically, Jake's Take.
Nice. Love that fucking intro. Great job, guys. Well, sit down, kids. Grandpa's got some hot takes for you on Rick and Morty's Season 5. I thought long and hard about where to start with this, and honestly, I'm going to just go line by line. We're reading this thing to filth. Episode by episode, I'm giving you quick feedback on what has been a bizarre season, to say the least. Collection. First up, Mort Dinner Rick Andre, which is episode 1. Personally, thought it was okay. I felt like it wasn't too crazy. The story felt complete, so it felt like the Harmon hero's journey, if you will. Mr. Nimbus was a pretty fun character, and I found myself lost in his thrust every time he was on screen. But anyway, it was all right in my book. And so that's going to be my quick take on the first episode. And it started off okay. I know Dotson has other feelings on this first episode, but it's just one of those that I think it started off okay. Next was Morplicity. And this episode was complete filler. We've reached that level in Rick and Morty, guys. We are at anime filler episodes on Rick and Morty. Next season, we're going to get fucking a beach episode. I swear it's going to happen. But this one is pretty bad, in my opinion. I mean, hell, I would take an interdimensional cable episode again over this one. I love those episodes, actually. They're a creative way to do filler. This just wasn't a creative way to do filler, in my opinion. So anyway, complete nothing burger of a fucking episode. Then we get back on the rails again, which was with a pretty deep episode, which is a Rick Convenient Mort. And basically it goes into Morty's relationship with Planetina, which was honestly touching to see play out. I know a lot of theorists have said that maybe this season is evil Morty's origin story. And, that's kind of why it's felt a little odd, right? And that this episode was one of those that really hit home at that loss and everything. But I really just thought this was a Morty, kind of character building episode. But it felt canon. It felt like it was a part of our Rick and Morty. It didn't feel like a weird offside adventure, which the Morplicity episode felt like. And even the, Mort Dinner Rick Andre one as well. And so... Anyway, I really thought it was a great, episode 3 was a good one that got us back on the rails. But then we get episode 4, which is another one that was completely garbage filler. It's a Rick pendant spray. And I guess it was supposed to shock us. There's this giant incest baby thing, and it's mentioned almost every episode henceforth, like afterwards. The Chud B story, which was the horse people, was possibly the worst thing I've seen on this fucking show. I mean, this whole episode was nonsense, and I'm not talking about the good classic like Rick and Morty kind of nonsense. I'm talking about just complete and utter, like, just fucking awful. It was bad writing nonsense. I mean, it was at that point in the show, I was looking at my phone at certain times, and I'm just gonna say, like, that's a sign of a low point for a show for me. Because if a show is engaging, I'm usually the one that's like looking over at Jessica, going, "Get off your phone! Like, watch this. This is good TV." But this was not good TV. I legit have never been in an episode of Rick and Morty.
Damn.
Or fucking awful. Episode 5 I'd call a low to mid-tier episode of Rick and Morty. It was a Morty Ken graffiti. There's really nothing to even mention from this episode. I consider it to be filler as well, right?
Yeah.
And then next we get Max Nonsense, but this one was a little bit more fun in my opinion. It was more Morty style nonsense. It was Rick and Morty's transploration or transportation. They're always saying, and it has some more memorable lines of the season, in my opinion. Some of them are kind of weird, like the one, this guy gets turned into a turkey. There's a whole song about like U.S. soldiers getting turned into turkeys. It was funny. One dude says, I've already done enough to pay for college. I think is a really great line from a military personnel. But it's outlandish. It's so outlandish that it's funny at times, and it was overall a different kind of funny for Rick and Morty to me. And so episode 6, okay. Then we have episode 7, Gotron, Geresis, Rick and Evangelion. And it's like, oh, I get it. Rick is a fucking he's an addict, Oh, okay, we get that. But anyway, the episode overall, I will say, was fun. It was an interesting mix of like an Italian mafia movie, but then with like an anime, like giant robot show. So take that as you will. But it felt like a classic adventure again. But this time Summer got a good taste of the spotlight, so I thought that was overall one of the better episodes of the season. And so then finally we get last week's episode, which was a gut fucking punch. And this is right before the hour-long finale, by the way, which isn't coming out in September. It's Rick-ternal Friendship of the Spotless Mort. And finally, things start to feel canon again. Like we are getting like a little bit back on the rails. Things are starting to feel okay. It feels like we're actually in our Rick and Morty that we watch universe, and not just some kind of other random Rick and Morty one. It feels like a normal episode of Rick and Morty, but it gave us some of the biggest bombs of the entire series. I mean, and not just the season. I mean, the entire series. One of the things being that like Ricks hate other Ricks based off the fact that, and the spoiler alert, that our Rick that we know with Morty lives with versions of Beth that lived, apparently. So that whole origin story that we see in the Shonies kind of had some truth to it. And so this episode really reveals that, and it's just one of those that everybody online and, I rewound it just to make sure that I heard that right. He was like, "Are you one of those Ricks that live with our dead daughter?" And like, I was like, "Whoa, what? Like, hold on." Like, is that kind of confirmed? And so,
That was a big bombshell.
yeah, a huge bombshell in my opinion. And so it left me with, kind of like so many questions. And, really was the daughter and wife killed of the Rickest Rick? Was that whole like, Shoney's kind of seen something that really happened? This episode punched me in the face personally. It was so good. It made some of the shittier episodes of this season somehow seem better. Overall, it's been one of the most disappointing seasons in my book. I know, like, rocking a lab coat coming in here, you're like, "Oh, fucking Jake's a fan." And look, I even found a blue shirt very similar to Rick's, by the way. So, like, hey, look at that. I'm cosplaying, mom. But it's just, I was excited to see this season. So far, it's been one of the most disappointing ones. Weird for me to do that. You know me. I'm the guy that gives everything like 8s and above. And so, like, but the last episode was 10 out of 10. But this season's been a 5 for me, dog. Questions, comments? How have you guys liked season 5 so far?
I'm with you. This season has been pretty trash. I thought the Nemesis episode I thought was the worst start to the season. And then I can't even remember the Mortican graffiti. I can't remember even what the plot line of that episode was. But yeah, that was a this whole season has been really. There was no Pickle Rick moments. There was no, like really stand out lines that I will take away. And it's been a disappointment in comparison to all the other seasons. And it's kind of like, once it feels like once you finally had security in your show, you got bought for 70 episodes is when you started pulling out the trash plot lines. And I don't think that's what we want,
Yeah. Like I said, I think a lot of this season feels like filler. How I told you guys earlier, how like you can skip like fucking 5 seasons of Naruto and still have seen all of Naruto, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I feel like half this season is those kind of filler episodes that really are just kind of I don't know if it's like, weeks Dan Harmon took off and went on vacation and the rest of the writing crew kind of like just had open reign, to do whatever they wanted. But a lot of the episodes haven't felt like I said, that Dan Harmon has a classic writing style of the hero's journey that kind of like each episode feels complete. And so even when it's nonsensical, there's some sense in it in a weird way. And that fucking one with the chuds, man, I swear that episode felt, like I said, I felt disrespected. Like I felt like it literally disrespected my intelligence and was like, this is a television show from the creators of a show that you enjoy. It felt like some kind of wolf in sheep's clothing. It's like some like and I mean, this joke may be insensitive. This joke may be insensitive, but the whole fucking episode offended me. So it felt like a Make-A-Wish kid got to direct this episode or something.
No.
Oh god.
Some child that hadn't directed anything come in and was like, I'll make an incest baby episode. They'll remember me forever. And and so that episode is a cancer on this season.
Oh,
There is the key, y'all.
That's a lot.
That was what we came here for. That was
a lot to unpack.
Take that we were there for. Damn. All right.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Well,
Jake Stakes. Hey, 100 years, Jake Stakes. 100 years.
Not pulling any punches.
I'm just gonna let that taste marinate in our mouth while we go to break. Actually, I'll wrap it up for the first half of the show. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're gonna be diving deep into this week's deep dive on what makes a good bad guy, and we'll be talking also about our top 10 villains who were right. So don't go anywhere. There's plenty more Geek Life to come.
Love an eccentric villain. That's why the Joker's always been kind of one of my favorites. I don't want to be